It is Tuesday, the 11th of November. It's Veterans Day. So first and foremost, of course, I salute and, thank all the veterans out there who served, whether you served in combat or you served in garrison during your tenure, however long or short it may have been. You are my brother, you are my sister. Uh, as I said earlier, basically I served 12 years in the Marine Corps and fought in a couple of wars and did some other things, humanitarian missions. I even helped build or rebuild a church in the Philippines. We rescued some refugees in the Indian Ocean, and some other things too. Some things I'm not too proud of. Other things I'm very proud of, and for good and bad. And I've met many good people, and I've met some bad. But I would not have traded my experiences in the military for anything. It's really helped me to grow, and it taught me a lot of things. So I'm very thankful for that period of time. All right, so with that being said, and I still plan on getting that song out to you. I tried it earlier. It just sounded like crap here on the computer. I don't have an amp or a mic, so I'm trying to figure out what I can do to make it sound, less treble-based. Well, less treble, maybe a little more bass, so it sounds more like an actual acoustic guitar that I'm playing, and it sounds a little bit better. But if I can't get the technical difficulties worked out with what I have, then I'm just going to go ahead and play it, and I hope that you understand it's the spirit of what I'm trying to do, and the fact that I get motivated and inspired by the things that I'm passionate about to do. Whether it's the divination, or helping somebody, or working hard at something, including putting together a song or what have you. I write, I do poetry as well as make music, and I'm passionate about all of these things. I'm very creative, and I believe that's a gift, and being authenticity is the most powerful of all resonances, frequencies, vibrations to have. I am really embellishing or really immersing myself, if you will, into that side of myself. And I don't mean that to sound arrogant or anything like that. It's just I'm coming, full circle with my understanding of things and what's important in life, and not worried about what other people may think, about what it is I'm doing. There's always going to be haters. There's going to be those who are jealous. There's going to be those who are inspired by it. And, even if it's only one person, I feel that I've done something, worthwhile. So I know I have a lot of work to do. And with that being said, I don't have any illusions about myself or some false sense of grandeur or anything like that. I just want to enjoy my life and be the best that I can be in all things that I do. And I hope the same for everybody that's out there listening and watching. And I think that's why you're here. You're trying to find answers to the many questions that you have in life. And so am I. Every day I'm seeking. And just like, the heading of my particular site, becoming enlightened together, I mean it. By working together, maybe we can help each other to grow in some way, shape, or form. All right, so let's get to the root of today's reading in terms of the runes. Now, the past energy that we have for today, and we pulled this one on Sunday for today, for Tuesday, it was Dagaz. And we've seen Dagaz a lot this week. Now, Dagaz is in the reverse, okay? This is one of the 9 runes, and we've seen it a lot this week already. But that one of the 9 runes that looks the same, upright or reversed. So again, I throw lots, and to confirm what my gut is telling me about the status of this energy, whether it's positive or negative, if you will. And in this case, it is in fact reversed. So what does Dagaz mean? Which is also the equivalent of number 23 in runic numerology, which again transfers to a number 5, and they do have different meanings than Mediterranean numerology, which you may be accustomed to if you watch a lot of tarot readings or astrological readings, unless you're watching maybe Vedic astrology or something from the Black Sea region, so to speak. But anyways, what 5 represents is order, time, and space. Okay, so it talks about the Germanic ancient week was 5 nights long. And it's also the length of time that you had to respond to a legal summons of some time, or some type back in the day. Beyond that, we don't have a lot of mythology or anything else really to go on. So, but again, we don't incorporate Mediterranean numerology with this. It's different. And I'm only doing this for the diehards that really want to get into the meat and potatoes of, all the different variances of what these particular runes mean. A symbol's worth, well, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words and a symbol is worth 1,000 pictures. So one, symbol can depict a tremendous amount of information, and that's certainly the case when it comes to the runes, both magically, numerically, and also, of course, it represents letters in the alphabet. There's a lot to be said about runes, and Odin himself sacrificed a great deal to get the information, the knowledge, the wisdom that came from the runes. He sacrificed himself to himself, as the poems in the Edda say, where he hung, in the tree, Yggdrasil, for 9 days and nights, even plucked out his own eye in order to get this wisdom, this knowledge. He was willing to do whatever it takes, basically, is the moral of the story, to, get wisdom. And he is our example in regards to that. Just like, Christ is our example in terms of how we conduct our lives each day with our love and everything else, and Krishna as well, and how we can make our lives in the physical sense basically free of suffering. When we look at it from the Buddhist perspective, we can learn basically how to come to terms with our dark side and marry it together with our lighter side, instead of pretending as though it doesn't exist like they do in Taoism. So when you put all this stuff together, I think it gives us a very good foundation, really, to become the very best versions of, that we're capable of being in this life. And that's what I strive to be. I want to get closer to spirit. I want to get closer to my higher self, if you will, closer to other beings, to find out what our potential really consists of. What can we actually do? The magic that exists, and I know it does. So, anyways, back to the reading. I digress. So what does Dagaz in reverse mean? Well, it means attitudes, radical changes occurring, completion, endings, limits, coming full circle, blindness, and hopelessness. Now, what we're seeing here is basically the close of a cycle that's starting to occur. We've been talking about this now for months. It is happening at different rates for, all the different people that are out there, me included. I feel the closing of this cycle definitely happening in my life. It's not happening at a rate that I perhaps had originally foresaw or even desired, but it's, it's the Spirit's timing, not ours. Okay? Everything that happens in our life, if we really reflect upon it, is in some way a lesson or a way of edifying ourselves, if we choose to allow it to be so. Okay, so this is from the karmic perspective, and I'll get to why I believe that here in a minute. But in magic, Dagaz is used for opening and closing rituals and magical renderings of any kind, typically. It can also help bring about transformations and transitions, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually in our life. And again, I'm not going to go into how those things are used in that regard, but that's what these symbols are representative of from the magical perspective or connotation of that symbol. Now, our present energy is Berkana in the reverse. Okay? Now, of course, it is the letter B in their alphabet. It looks like a B. Berkana in reverse is number 18, which translates to a number 9. And number 9 for Norse is a very holy number. Again, 9 days and nights, Odin hung from the tree in order to gain the magic from the Norns of the runes themselves, okay? It's also the number of life and death, transformation, number of worlds. I don't know how I forgot that on the world tree. Get yourself. There's 9 worlds. We are one of them. We are Midgard, if you will. So Asgard is where Odin and those gods live. And there's another world for the Vanir, which is where like goddess Freya and her twin brother Frey actually came from originally. The Vanir and the Aesir were at war with one another, and this is how they came to terms with each other. They gave, if you will, captives to each world, to work together in harmony instead of at war. Okay, so number 9 is very holy, and for the present energy in the reverse, Berkana means family problems. And again, these are things that are specific to the karmics. Okay, they also have anxiety, in terms of people in their family. They're very worried about somebody specific in their family, and that worry could be either because of some genuine concern for their welfare and well-being, or maybe perhaps they're just they're not doing well in other ways, emotionally or spiritually, and they're concerned for themselves at the hands of this other member in their family. It can go many ways. And, for the people out there, I'm sure it probably does go many different ways. So, but it also talks about carelessness and a sense of abandon, loss of control, the blurring of consciousness, deception, possibly even sterility and stagnation. Now, sterility doesn't necessarily have to be in terms of not being able to produce. You can be sterile, in your day-to-day life in terms of what you're able to produce, or how you are, truly functioning in your life. You may be not producing anything at all. Okay, so it's another form of sterility. In magic, Berkana can be used for both fertility rites and basically also bringing about any new project. Okay, so you use it basically while imagining the beginnings of that which you desire. Okay. Now, in terms of our obstacles or challenges, I have Thor's mighty rune, which is Thurisaz. Thurisaz comes from the word Thurisaz, which means giant. And Thor basically protected the many worlds from the giants. There are a couple of worlds that are filled with specific types of giants. You have one planet that has the ice giants, another one that has the fire giants, and the other has the Jotnar, which can be either gigantic or actually even very microscopic or small. But it's strange. Some are grotesque to look at, and others are even beautiful, perhaps, to look at in some cases. In fact, many of the gods have produced offspring from giantesses, if you will. A whole nother story in terms of their mythology. But it means giant. It also stands for thorn in terms of, thorns that protect a rose flower. So protection is part of the meaning of this as well, being that it is representative Thor himself, who's the protector of the worlds, and so on, mankind in particular against the giants. So it also refers to counseling and luck. It talks about a reactive force or directed force of either destruction or defense. It talks about conflict, instinctual will, vital eroticism and regeneration. Basically talks about a tendency towards change, catharsis. Talks about purging, male sexuality, and fertilization. So, as you might imagine, Thor was a very, masculine god, of course. So, and many of these gods really are. So, now in magic, it's used basically being one of the most powerful runes in the 24 rune deck of the old Futhark. So it's used to amplify other runes around it, especially when used as a bind rune. And a bind rune, again, is like 2 or more runes superimposed upon one another to utilize the energy specific to that rune and amplify it, so to speak. Okay? Alright, so that's basically what that rune is used for. It's also used for protection rituals and spells. Just like magicians, they paint their circle, they do their pentacle and everything else, where when they call forth their evil spirits to do their bidding, or they think that those spirits are doing their bidding, they don't realize the spirits are actually using them, but that's a whole nother story. With Thurisaz, you can also protect yourself from those very same spirits, where they can't do anything at all to you. But you can do the same thing just by simply raising your vibration and resonance. The higher you vibrate and resonate, the less that they can mess with you. And that's just a fact. Again, it's just like a radio station, for example, when you're trying to listen to radio station 98.5, and you're actually getting, you're only resonating at a frequency of, let's say, 88.5. You can't hear 98.5, right? You can't get to 98.5. And it's the same way with the magic, in a sense. They just can't get to you because they're resonating and vibrating so lowly. Alright, now in terms of our help and advice, we got Yera. Alright, so I think, there you go. I think you can see it. Alright, so Yera in the upright is number 12, and Thurisaz is number 3, by the way, in terms of runic numerology. And again, number 3 is also a holy number, as it is in Christianity and Judaism and things of that nature. There are, the 3 brothers of, with Odin, Vili, and V. You have the 3 Norns, who are the weavers of fate, just like the Fates in Greek and Roman mythology. And there's many other examples of that within the mythology. So 3 is a holy number for the Norse. And that's what Thurisaz represents, okay? Now, Yera represents 12, which is also the number 3, okay? Basically, what that stands for is that your harvest, those things which you have reaped, are now ready to be sown. No, you sow and then you reap. Forgive me. My voice goes ahead of my thinking at times, so sometimes I'm thinking well ahead of what I'm saying. I get screwed up. But anyways, you know what I'm saying. Whatever you put out there, whatever seeds you planted, good or bad, your harvest is basically about ready to come in for you. So, of course, for my collective, that means you have been doing the inner work. You have been improving yourself. You meditate. You eat well. You drink water, the water. You purify your soul as well as your body. You try to get closer to spirit, and you're always learning and trying to make yourself a better version of yourself. You help others. You don't hinder. You don't create problems. You try to find solutions. As a result, you are a positive aspect or a higher vibrational being in this world, and you are going to be rewarded as a result. And in like manner, for those who are self-serving and only care for themselves, only look after their own interests, their own selfish needs, wants, and desires, try to enforce their will upon other people, you also are going to reap your just rewards. And unfortunately for you, it's going to be what you put out there, to hurt other people, and probably much more. And it's going to be hard for you because you haven't come to terms with these things as being the lessons that they are. You're going to take it very personally, and you're going to be the victim, of course. You have to get a hold of your ego before you can really allow these things to change you and to do the work that they're really designed in terms of how the universe itself works, in terms of reciprocity and balancing itself out. You're going to fight it tooth and nail, and you're not going to win. You're simply going to make it worse for yourself. So I'm sharing this with you so that you can reflect on it and hopefully use it to transmute, that energy into something positive. That's what transmutation is. It's not turning base metals into gold. It's transmuting negative energy and making it into something positive or creative even. That's what it is. And if you start learning that, start applying that, start doing that, then you become a higher resonating being. You start seeing things. Your gifts are restored. You're able to be closer to the divine, if you will. And as a result of that, and we don't do it simply for the rewards. We do it because it's something that burns inside of us that we just know is right, and we do it. We seek it out no matter how hard it is, and we endure no matter how hard it is. And the people who've been working against me know how much that I've had to endure over the last several years. And I've gone through this, and you want to make it seem as though it's something that it's not, that everything just comes to me, but it has not been that way at all. Everything that I have worked through, I've literally had to sacrifice to get to the next level. And I haven't even told you the things that I've gone through yet, but it doesn't matter. The point is, you're going to experience some of that for yourself. The tables are turning, if you will. The wheel of fortune in tarot is change. That means you are no longer at the top. You're going to be where many of us have been for quite a while now. So I hope that you're ready and experience it, because we were allowed to experience these things so that it can strengthen us and make us better. You're going to go through it because it's what you wanted for us. And you're going to have a much harder time getting through this. So, and I'm not saying this to say, na or anything like that. I'm trying to encourage you to really reflect on this, and hopefully, instead of doing, which I know you will do, and you're cussing at me, throwing things probably at your computer screen or phone or whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever you're using to view this. But it's a fact, and you're about to experience it. I'm just trying to help you to prepare yourself for it. Again, it's just trying to be helpful, even though you haven't done anything to deserve it, except you're just at a different place in your journey than I am. So I'm trying not to take it personally, okay? Because I know that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to see it for what it is. We were once in a similar state of illusion, delusion, pride and ignorance, being lost, being in our pride and our ego. And that just leads to a lot of problems, as you're going to find out, unfortunately. Alright, so Yara, what does it mean in terms of magic? Well, again, it's great for creation, whether you're creating a new garden or you're working hard along with that energy to get a promotion or create something brand new from scratch. Okay, that's what Yara is. Now, in terms of our overall weekly energy, I think I've already said it. It's Gibo in the reverse. It's number 7 in terms of the Nordic numerology, and it means basically problems with the root of an emotional nature: greed, loneliness, dependency, over-sacrifice, obligations, toil, privation, and bribery. Alright, so that's the overall energy, because right now the energy coming from the karmic individuals in particular, whether it's a single or multiple people in your individual experiences, are emanating at a much not higher resonance or frequency, but it's a more predominant energy. And that's why we're picking it up. I'm not just the only one picking this stuff up. I mean, you can't watch a single astrology, reading or a tarot reading or anything else and not hear about it, and it's no different from what I'm seeing here. I mean, their energy is very predominant here, and we need to be, advised as to the predicament. Many of us are, like I said, at the brink of closing out a cycle. And again, we're all at different, if you will, time rates in terms of where we're at in this particular reality or this cycle. Mine is closing out. I see examples of that every day. Many of you have already experienced the closing of this cycle and stepping into a new one. Others, you're still, some ways to go before that actually happens. So it's going to be different for each and every one of us. But the energy is still there for the collective. Okay, so take that with a grain of salt. And, if it resonates with you, then use it to your own advantage and so on. Okay, that's why you're here. Now, the overall outcome or potential outcome in the future is Manas. Now, Manas in the upright is basically stands for man, mankind, humanity, altruism, things of that nature. It talks about the self, modesty, thought. It talks about creativity. It talks about an attitude towards others and theirs towards you as well. It talks about friends and enemies. It talks about social order, intelligence, forethought, your creative skills. Talks about your abilities, divine structure of things, understanding the laws of the universe. And it's liberating once you really distinguish that indeed there is order in everything that's happening, no matter how disorderly it may seem. Awareness is also a part of this rune, and it also tells us that we can expect to receive some sort of aid or cooperation very soon. So again, for my collective out there, if you're really feeling down or if you're looking for some type of help or guidance, mentoring, a good friend, brother, sister, whatever the case may be, well, that help is coming. And that's, one of the things that I'm here to tell you about. Now, in magic, mana is used to cultivate more of one's own potential, okay, being a much better version of yourself. Use it to bring forth that from which the world, as well as yourself, will benefit. That's what it means. So overall, for the collective, once again, we're seeing that a cycle is starting to close out, that there are many rewards that are coming based on your merits, the things that you've already put out there, those things are coming back to you and more. For those who have put negative energy out there or tried to do harm to other people or, again, try to exploit or use and other things, I'm afraid that is not looking so good for you. But you can transmute that. You can get through that. And there is light at the end of the tunnel if you're willing to actually concede that you brought this on yourself and you have to go through the energy that you put out there, because it has to go somewhere. If you put negative energy out there and it didn't go to people such as myself, then if you know anything about magic as you profess to, then it has to go somewhere. And that energy is coming right back to you like a boomerang. So prepare yourself. That's all I have to say to you. I don't mean you any ill will, but you did mean me ill will. And to other members of the collective out there, in like manner, you've meant them ill will, whoever it is that's listening. And that energy did not touch them or barely touch them, and now you're going to experience the brunt of, your desire for them, whatever reasons, jealousy, envy, ego, just trying to look good or tough for your friends. That never produces anything. Remember, authenticity means being who you are meant to be, regardless of what anybody else thinks, says, or feels. You're doing it because it's what you were created to do, and within that there is a gift that you give to everybody else around you that you are depriving them of. You're being selfish on multiple levels by not doing it. And this is why it's seen to be so powerful, even more powerful than love itself, is self-love, or, again, being authentic. Be authentically you. And I want to leave you with that message, and I hope you guys have a great evening. And I will see you again tomorrow on the 12th. And hopefully I'll have my song ready and everything else. And I'll start posting some of the music here on YouTube. And very soon I'll be at a place where I can start getting my material goods back in order again too. I literally lost everything I own, everything. But I don't care. For me, it was a sacrifice for the better, and I'm okay with that. So, again, I wish you all the very best, and for those of you who are about to go through it, again, I pray that you too will learn your lesson and allow this to change you and stop fighting it, because all you're going to do is just add so much more pain to yourself and suffering to yourself, and the time period in which you're going to be suffering is going to be greatly increased. Use it to change. Okay? And with that being said, I wish you all the very best. Peace. And I'll see many of you someday much further down the road in Valhalla. Take care. Bye-bye.